So in this video, I'm going to show you all of my tips and tricks and my design elements for building a custom closet / dressing room like this one for less than $1,000. Stay with us. So one of the largest challenges we face when we're doing renovations is how to deal with closet areas. Because let's just face it, nowadays people tend to have a lot more clothes, shoes, and accessories than they used to in a long time ago. So homes just aren't built to handle all your stuff, which is why we took the fourth bedroom. We're turning this into a walk-in closet. Now, when you're getting ready to finish a closet, you've really got only three choices. You can just put up the basic melamine panels, a cross piece, bar, shelf, and that's simple. You have these metal racks that have a little coating on it. They snap together. They're a little bit pain in the butt because you have to put a ton of holes in your wall. And if you ever want to make any adjustments to the shelf, you also have to take the brackets out of the wall that are supporting the weight. And so you end up with a very restrictive system that doesn't really perform very well. It's full of holes, so everything's always falling through. And to be honest with you, the price point isn't all that attractive. The next step up, though, is you've got things like the Martha Stewart systems they sell at Home Depot. There's a variety of different companies. They've got these pre-assembled panel systems, and you just like a kit. You can buy a corner of this and this piece here, and you put it all together. You hang it off rails on the wall, and that seems to work. But the reality is you're getting, just for, let's say, 10 feet in length, you're already over $1,500 to buy those systems. They're really expensive, and they're just particle board. And then the next step up from there is you go and you get a carpenter in and you do something custom. And that's like building a kitchen. And that can just be ridiculous. So most people can't afford the high end. And then the middle option is just so expensive for what you're getting as far as value is concerned. Today I'm showing you how to build my system, which is basically off-the-shelf products, very little cutting, but there's a few different improvements in the design and the products that we're using that make it functional, versatile, and cost-effective, right? So let's get into it. We're going to build a few different sections here today. At the end of the video, you can see the effect of the whole room. So the basic function is you need to have a gable on each side and then a rod. Now the rods that they sell in most situations in homes, new home construction, they're very thin. They go inside each other, kind of like a shower pole. What I like to do is I like to buy the step up. It's a heavier gauge steel. We'll show you that in a little bit. And then that can go across there without the need for middle supports. So you don't have to have all this bracket thing going on and it's confusing and ugly because it'll transfer all the load of all the clothes over 6 feet, no problem. So we're going to put in two gables. We're going to trim it out, add the shelf at the top, but we're also going to be building it in the box at the ceiling so we can crown this all in. So what we get is the effect of a beautiful, finished, custom-made closet, but it's so quick and simple. You're going to love it. So let's get started. I'll show you the assembly and how easy it is. There we go. Now, step number one. This is, and you know, don't take out your pencil and start taking notes, okay? We're stepping up our game on the channel. We're going to be putting the plans and designs and measurements on our website, okay? So you can go there and download the plan, and it's just gonna be free of charge, but we wanna make this information available to you. We're gonna do a few different design styles and sizes, put in the measurements there for you to help make things easier, but you are basically gonna be customizing this to where you live. So we have 8-foot panels that come from our store. They're 16 inches wide, and we just cut it to fit to the ceiling, and we just slide it into the back. All right? Now, that is simple. Now you'll also notice that the walls around here are covered in wallpaper. And if you want to see how we do the wallpaper, it's so simple. This is one way to increase the design factor of any room. And if you want to do this, we'll put a link right here for you as a card to the wallpaper video. This step is brilliant. It's so easy to do nowadays. It's not like wallpaper days of old where everything was just gooey and sticky and falling all over you. So we're going to take our pin nailer now. We're going to throw a few shots into the corner because we know that when you build a house, there's a piece of wood there. Now that's not going to go anywhere. Step one's done. I love it. Step number two. They also sell at the same store the same width of material in a 6-foot panel. Okay. Now this might look like it's a waste of material to double up like this, but what this does do is this gives me a beautiful design to the ceiling for the inside corner, and this gives me structural load for the shelf. So we're gonna, again, throw pins in the back corner. All right. And I'm just going to demonstrate this real quick. All right, because we're going to screw this together. These are all products we found at the local building store. So we get these 1 and I think they're 1 1/8. 1 1/8 wood screw, okay? And with this, I can screw these panels together. And then this is a little cap. Now when you go down to the hardware aisle, they're gonna have a wall of little plastic boxes and trays, and you can get these caps. And this is a number 2, and it actually fits inside the head of the screw, and it covers up the screw. And that's one way you can attach all these boards together, and you won't have to do any finishing and touch up and putty and paint work later. The next step is, for this section of the closet, is to build this side. It's gonna be very similar. We're gonna have one panel that goes to the ceiling, one panel that comes from the store at the same height, all right? If your room is level and relatively flat, that makes all the math really simple. So we're just gonna screw those together, get that in place. And that's my right side panel here. Okay. Okay. Now, one of the things you're going to need to do in these situations, because you're going to the middle of a wall, there's nothing to nail the board to. You have to create a nailing strip. So what we do is we cut this down a little bit, because we're also going to put one of these 1x2s that come from the store, okay? And we're going to go across the back of the wall, and it'll sit on top of this as well, and that'll be a back wall support for the shelf. All right, so what I'm going to just pin nail all this together here, real quick. Okay. Now we're going to take this panel, and we're going to line this up over here. Now, one of the things you're going to want to have in this situation is a laser, because nothing in your room is going to be level. So you want to have a line that you can follow. So because my second panel is going to go all the way to the ceiling, I want to come just off the edge of that vent. So I'm going to design this for simplicity. I like that. So I'm going to put this one up against the laser line. Okay, and then I'll nail my support bracket to the wall. I'm going to just manipulate and fire this into the wall. There we go. Okay. All right, beautiful. Okay, one of the best things about the system is that we don't have to worry about the structural integrity and squaring it off as we go. Because when we put the shelf on, it'll self-square everything. We're just going to measure from the back point to the back point because they're fixed. And then the fronts will just square themselves off. Here we go. That's a perfect 55 inches. All right, so I'm just going to run downstairs, draw a line on my shelf, cut it with this, my skill saw. Be back up here in no time. We'll stick the shelf on. 155-inch shelf. That was simple. Now, the only thing we want to do here, you also want to tack all this together. That'll give you your structural integrity, right? Okay. That'll keep everything from moving around. Perfect. Piece of cake. So my next part of my system here is I'm going to put a piece of 1x5 MDF and cap the surface. One of the things we're doing here is we're actually going to cap all of the surfaces. So we're going to cap this joint, we're going to cap across the shelf, down the side and across the top. This gives us a really nice finished look. It also allows us to attach the crown molding afterwards we're all done to dress it all up. 55. There. So the key here is to start on the outside corner. Everything is nice and flexible. So we're going to nail this on here. And that's what's going to hold our crown molding. Okay. Now that we have that done, we're ready to put the faces on. And that's what this is for, right? I mean, this just cleans everything up really nicely. We also bring one across this area here. That gets rid of the warp in the shelf because it has structural integrity added by this piece. And we close up the gaps along the outside with this one here. Nice. We'll also put one across the back to give some more support for the shelf. And then add baseboard. And this one's finished. So what I do is I just take a piece of scrap. I'm gonna get my cutlass, do it all at once, and then come back. All right, 90 3/4, 90 7/8. 53, Okay, so we're just gonna go flush with the outside and then throw in some more pins. Always go straight and square. You're nailing through the finished edge of these melamine cabinets, I guess is what you'd call it. And if you go on an angle, they'll just deflect off of that trim. So always go square and avoid that mistake. Okay, now this system is great for closets, but in a few minutes we're going to show you also how to build adjustable shelving units, shoe racks, and cubby storage. We're going to do a whole wall in this room, and that system, when you combine it all together, this technology is a really simple way for just about anybody to make their own built-ins anywhere in the whole house. Fire a nail there. So that this is useful, I'm going to use my stud finder. Basically all we do is you press the button on once you're flat on the wall. And when you see the green light, you just start traveling to the left. And there's a stud. Okay, and then we'll confirm from that coming the other direction. There you go. And right in the middle, you're guaranteed to have wood. And we'll lift the shelf to carry the load. I'm comfortable with that. We'll do it again over here somewhere. Oh, that's really interesting. Okay. There we go. If you want it to carry a lot of weight, you throw 3 nails in there. I'm telling you right now, 3 brad nails will carry over 100 pounds each. So that's a 200-pound carry load right there. Plus both gables. And then when we're all done, because next we're going to build this side, because this is an inside corner system. We're going to build this side, and then we're going to connect the shelves together. Okay, we'll show you how to do that as well. We'll finish trimming it up. Boom. We'll have to install the rods. We'll have a finished closet in about another 10 minutes. So in this situation, we're coming around the corner, right up to the edge of a cabinet. Now what we're going to do is resist the temptation to attach the gables to the cabinet. This can be temporary. What we're doing here is we're attaching something to the wall, so it's permanent. We don't want to attach them together. Now just also note, in the floor here, we have our area vent heat grate system. And we installed this, I think we showed how to install this in the engineered flooring video. So this is an engineered hardwood. If you want to see that video, just click the link right here. Because between the hardwood, the wallpaper, and these custom cabinets, that's basically all there is to making this beautiful. Well, aside from the amazing pot lights we got, but that's about all you need to know to do something like this at home. Beautiful. We actually moved that vent because it was under the window, and so the dresser was in the way. So we moved it with the design in mind to keep that, available to heat the room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this panel that I have my 1x2 attached to now, and I'm going to get the floor to ceiling panel. I'm just going to put them all in position, screw the 2 main panels together, nail this one into the wall. Bam, we've got an end gable and it's fixed in place. So there's panel number 1, floor to ceiling, right? And again, we're not concerned about how tight it is at the ceiling because we're going to be adding caulking and paint and crown. There's panel number 2, okay? So what I want to do here is first I want to get this fixed in place about where this cabinet is, because I know when I'm compressed this way, I can find my level from there. That's funny because this is a brand new house, and the outside of the room versus 16 inches in it's over a 1/4 inch gap, right? It's amazing. So in order for me to build this properly, I have to shim the bottom of these, or I have to scribe the bottom of these and cut them. Either way works fine, but since we're going to be using the 1x2 going right to the floor, I'm not going to worry too much about that. I'm just going to go make a quick shim for myself out of some leftover material. Stick that underneath for now for load transfer. And once I've got that in place, then I'll keep going on. Okay, I just found another useful use for a carpenter pencil. I shoved the whole thing in that gap that's my shim. Oh well, I have other pencils. Problem solved, time to move on. I want to keep building. Anyway, I'm going to just keep on tacking here. I want to have stability left to right, so I'm going to get my laser level, throw a line, tack all this together. All right, so now the key here is to understand that we're going to need some gable support here, and then a shelf to go from this side and then tie right into the other shelf. And I bought a couple of mending plates for that. Here they are. All right, so you go to the local store and you can buy these mending plates, and the top of the hole here is actually beveled out so that the screw sits right flush in there. So we're using 5/8 screws. After the thickness of the metal, they won't penetrate the bottom side of the shelf, okay? So you can stick these on and tie everything nice and tight together. It also transfers weight from one panel to the next, which is brilliant. So what we have to do now is we have to decide where to put this end gable, okay? Because this is a close rod. Now traditionally, although we're using 16-inch panels, a close rod comes about 12 inches off the wall, all right? So if you're not sure what to do at your house, just grab a hanger. It'll help you organize this. Now, if you put this hanger tight against the wall, that means every time you hang something up, you're banging against the wall. You're gonna cause damage. You wanna cut a couple inches out. That gives you the ability to hang just about anything, including coats, and you're gonna have lots of room. So if that's the center there, then from the wall, I'm looking at almost 12 inches, okay? So you can always give yourself lots of room. If you're gonna be carrying coats, go to 12 inches. Nothing wrong with that, all right? That's your center. Now, if the center is at 12, that means you actually want to give yourself almost 24 inches of actual space. So, when we're bringing our gable for here, we don't want to just put it up against here, because that makes this part of the closet useless, right? So what we want to do is we want to measure and install our shelf and our gable at the same time. We want to cut the gable so that we can put it in a position where we want it to carry the weight while we put this in and attach our mending plates. It's a little tricky, but we'll get there. But the point is we want this gable here 24 inches off the wall. Okay? Make sense? So the gable, again, is going to be a standard stock item from the store, the same as the other two. And this one, all right? So that means we don't have to measure the height. We'll stick it in place and get on with our life. And that'll be good. So all we need now is to measure our shelf. All right, and this shelf here is going to be 49 and a hair, and it should be the same here. Yes. All right, so I'm gonna go cut a shelf that's 49 and a hair, and I'm gonna cut out this back corner to sit around this edge here. Come up tight to here, use the mending plates, throw a couple of nails in. Again, we're gonna put a crossbar in here to carry some weight. We're gonna throw in this panel here. We're almost done. All right, so I've got my shelf, I've got my support board, and I've got my little 1x2 because we're gonna have to nail the back again to keep it straight. Just a quick note, you'll see while we're working here, there's a lot of these black marks. When you go to buy your product, don't be concerned about it. It really is just shipping dirt and wear and tear. It'll all wipe up when you're done. Don't even bother trying to clean it before you start. Just wait till you're all finished, give it a good wipe. It'll all look brand new then. So let's stick this all in place now. Here we go. Now, we'll start here, come down into position. Here we go. Give this roughly where we want it. Now, we want to get this, you said 24, right? Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up putting this gable just off that line of the wallpaper there. That'll be nice. Okay. We need to get that nailed together. Okay. Just a quick tip. When you're nailing things into just drywall and it's giving you a little bit of resistance, if you put one nail on an angle up and one nail on an angle down, that actually will hold the drywall, okay, and keep it in position for you. And that is a great way to solve that problem. So what I'm doing is I'm basically screwing the left side of the mending plate to one panel, and then when I attach the screws to the other side, it'll pull it tight into position. I'll show you that in just a second here. Now, mending plates are really popular in office furniture. All right. Which is actually where I first ever used them. Man, I must have been 22 years old. I was working for an office furniture installation company. You know, one of those firms, they go in there and they'll set up 100 or 200 offices on the floor in a couple of days. Just ridiculous. But I learned some handy tricks. There we go. Now here we are, right? A couple brackets, couple of screws. You got a nice transition. So we're going to recap, because now we have the basics of our shelving system. We're also going to take our piece of 1x5 from the face here, bring it across and measure out to the depth of this corner. Okay, and we'll attach it in the corner. That way our crown can be continuous, all right? And then it's just a matter of getting our 1x2 floor to ceiling here, and then trimming out the fronts of the rest of this. This bad boy's done. From the face of that to the other side of this. That's a 39, that's an 8, 37, 16. How I like to do my shelves is I'll do both ends flush, and then I'll go to the middle and I'll manipulate whatever is left, and then work another way out. That makes that pretty solid. That's awesome. Okay, now I have to put this piece in so I can measure that. The other detail here that's going to be interesting is we want to do something in this corner to dress it up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the 1x2, and I'm going to just go from the top of the cabinet up to the bottom here, and I'm going to put an inside corner on just to help dress that up and make it look intentional. That's really nice. And in a lot of cases, if you're going more than 3 or 4 feet, then you want to put a center panel in as additional support. And you can take a look at the other end of the room. You'll notice that we did a center support wall. It was 2 panels that were at the 6 feet, and then we added the 1x2 floor to ceiling on it, and that offered great structural support so we could put multiple rods in. Also, it's a great clean look, balances out, nice symmetry. Beautiful. Now in this situation here, you'll see that the flooring comes pretty short of the baseboard. So what I did is I'm actually going to be adding a piece of shoe mold, okay? And so then I can dress that up and close those gaps. If you're in a house and your baseboard is too thin to cover, don't be surprised. In most construction, the baseboards are thin and they take quarter round or shoe mold to add additional depth to cover all the edges of the flooring. Okay, so the rod systems come with this awesome heavy duty hardware, and they have one thing in common. There's a similar location on the bottom of each of these pieces, okay? And so what I like to do is I set it up at 5.5 inches from the shelf and 11.5 inches in. Sorry, 5.25 down, 11.5 inches in. I'll make my mark. I'm gonna pre-drill the hole just a little bit because the screws that we use to mount these, they have a hard time with the melamine. So if you pre-drill it, it really helps a lot. Here we go. So we're gonna put that, pre-drill this hole just enough so that the screw can catch the melamine. All right, there we go. And then we're gonna just pre-drill the hardware, the center of those holes as well. Now, the 2 ends are different. One receives the rod, the other one the rod sits on, and all the screw locations are in different spots. So make sure when you do this, you don't pre-drill a bunch of holes that you aren't going to use. Just mark the ones, set the bottom up. 1, 2, and 3. There we go, beautiful. Screws come in the bag. They are Phillips. We all know how I feel about Phillips screws. All right, and because your hole is pre-drilled, this just pops in real easy. Okay, and there's my heavy steel bar, right? And it's cut. So take the cut end and insert it in the extended bracket area there. There we go. And it just drops in place. Whew. Sexy, beautiful. And we're just gonna finish off all of our decorations now, right? Again, we're just gonna make it nice and flush here. And then we'll do the other side. Always shooting square. Perfect. All right, and then we're gonna set these up in here, nice and snug. So for finishing this off, we're just going to tack the corner on an angle, because this is all MDF and it won't fire out the nail on the other side. There we go. The only thing left in this part of the closet is to put a rod here and a rod down here. Now this is tall enough at 6 feet and change. You can do 2 rods for separates. You know, that's basically means you can hang your shirts above and pants underneath or whatever. Over here we have room for lots of full length activity, and they're going to be putting their luggage in behind the back corner as well. So that's awesome. Okay, so we got lots of hanging closet now. Before we get into doing crown molding though, we want to finish off the adjustable shelving unit. So we're going to rearrange the lights and camera action here. We're going to start building the other units on the other wall. So now we're at a point where we're going to build a different kind of system. This is just an adjustable wall shelf unit. And the same kind of principle applies here, only this time we're using a 12-inch deep pre-drilled hole wall board as the gables. We're still going to put the 1x5 across the top, but we're also going to build the lower shelf with a 1x6 across the bottom. That allows us to continue the baseboard trim all around the entire room. It gives a really nice look that complements the crown. So what we're going to end up with is a baseboard into the 1x6, right into the shelf that's going to be fixed in place. And every unit we build will have the same shelf, the same height, fixed in place. So we have the face of the 1x6, the face of the 1x5. And you guessed it, when you build a bunch of these units, you stack them together and you put the 1x2 on the front. Bam, you have exactly the same symmetry and look. And that system can be duplicated over and over and over again. And you can build whatever you want inside of the confines of that. Because as long as you use the same width gable, you can do whatever you want in each unit and then trim the face to close it all up and cover it up and make it look pretty. That's why the system works so well. Now what we're going to do is we have a 90, almost 6-inch ceiling. So we're going to just cut all of them off at 95. Because we're doing the 1x6, we're also going to put a shelf at the very top underneath that 1x5, okay? That'll give it a nice close that off. We won't see the edge of the ceiling and the ugly wallpaper mistake I made up there. But what it does is it contains everything, defines everything, makes it a really nice look, quality space. And it keeps everything rigid too. So each one of these units is going to have a lower, middle, and a top shelf that's fixed, and other shelves will be adjustable. That functions really nice. And it also makes everything nice and sturdy. So when we go to install it, it'll be rock solid. So we're going to just put together a couple units real quick, and then we're going to install all of our crown. So we're going to show you how to make the assembly. If you have a nice flat surface, you can assemble these really quick with an air nailer and a finish square. We're going to show you that trick so you can get that done. And then as far as the crown molding is concerned, if you'd like to see how to put crown molding up. So we're using kind of like a styrofoam crown molding with a plaster face on it. It's an awesome product. We're going to put a link in the description below so that you can take a look at that source online. But we'll also put the card up here so that you can click and watch that video, because there's a really simple way to install crown molding, and all that information is in the video, so I'll just go let you check it out. You can actually click it and it'll open the page. You can pause the video. You can watch that when this one's done. All right, so I'm going to go and make all my cuts, and I'm going to come up here and talk you through the process, because it is just that simple. We'll whip this together in no time. Now, one word of caution here, with a little bit of a tip for you. These boards here that come pre-drilled, let me show you. They only have finished one edge, okay? Now, they come from the factory 97 inches, even though they say 96. The point of that is they're designed so that no matter which end you measure from, the first hole is in exactly the same location. So that you can take the board here with the white facing you, and the holes will line up with the board here with the white facing you, with the pre-drilled holes facing each other. They'll all be in line. If you have them all stacked like this and cut all the tops off, you're going to have to invert, and you'll end up with them upside down and your holes will be out of alignment. So take extra caution, think through your process, make sure you're not messing that up. What I do is I stack them, all the finished edges facing me, holes up, holes down, holes up, holes down, and then I make my cuts. That way I'm confident I'm always cutting the top off and not causing myself an issue. First of all, we're going to remember that we're going to put a shelf at the bottom, one in the middle, and we'll identify that in a minute, and one at the top. But the bottom and the top are simple. So we're going to just put B for bottom on these, okay? So we don't get confused as we go along. T for top, that'll get covered. Now from the ground, we're adding a 1x6, and those are 5.5 inches. And you can make marks with pencil all day long on melamine because it'll always wash off, so don't be afraid of doing that. The idea here is we want to have all of these boards standing up on end, okay? And then we're going to nail it all together. Seems a little precarious, and at times it is. There we go. Okay, bam. Okay, so this mark is at exactly 5.5 inches. Now I know the 1x6 is exactly 5.5 inches. So I'm going to install my shelf just 1/8 longer than that, okay? And I'm going to come bring it up flush and throw one nail in it real quick just to get this started. There, okay? Now I'm going to come over here and mark my 5.5 inches plus the hair. All right. And I'm going to get this nail in just so that things aren't falling all over the place. Now here's a teachable moment for us. I was too close to the edge and I didn't make sure I was on a 90 degrees. So my nail came through. Now I got two options. I can try to pull the nail out, it's going to destroy the whole thing, or I can just snip it off, not worry about it. Remember, everything here is getting that 1x6 face, so it's not going to be a problem. Now, what we want to do now is we want to install this shelf perfectly square. So we can set the square on here and just come over and manipulate the location of that. And that's brilliant, eh? The other thing you can do is you can take it to the other side, all right? And you can use it to trace a line. So when you're shooting your nails in, you know where the top of that shelf is. Okay?
That's brilliant.
Here we go. Makes this nice and simple. And you can push this under pressure a little bit, and then even with your knee, push back the other way, make sure that it's nice and square. There we go. We'll do the same thing with the other side. Beautiful. Now, we're going to do the same thing at the other end. Knowing that we're putting in a 1x5, we'll set the height of that shelf as well. Here we go with our shelf. Again, 1x5 is 4.5 inches. Now remember, we cut these at 95. They're going to be short of the ceiling. So what we're going to have is we're going to have a piece of 1x5 coming across the top so that we can put our crown molding on it. This shelf doesn't need to come flush to it. So we're going to intentionally install it closer to the top, just so that it becomes a visibly finished space, okay? So we're going to assume that we're 1 inch from the ceiling. And we're going to go to 4 inches after that. So I'm actually going to mark it at 3, all right? And you'll see the effect when we're all done. This is going to work out really nice. If my 1x5 at the top comes to this point, when you're on the ground looking up, it looks very finished. And you don't have to worry about being precise, because when you're working like this for yourself, the last thing you want is create so much math because you'll never get anything done. You'll be forever scribing. So that's why using the crown helps, because crown solves all your problems with all your math. All you have to do is measure from the ground up every single time, and it'll be perfect every time. Trace my line. Trace my line. Okay. Okay, so the middle shelf, we want to have that consistent on every unit that I build here, and I'm building 4. So we only want to get this one measurement one time. So I have a unit like this that's getting a bottom and a top. The next unit to the side of it is actually designed to be in 13-inch cubby holes. Okay, so we're 13 inches up and across. Because in this particular case, they're using the fabric boxes from IKEA to use like drawers. Not all of them, but some of them. So we're going to make it very consistent. So we're going to measure the total here, and that is just under 87. Okay, and we're going to go 13, 6, 78. 78 off 87 leaves me 9, but I also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shelves to do that. And that's 5 at 5/8, 25/8, that's 3 inches and change. That leaves me an extra 3 inches. Okay, so what I've got an idea of having a 13-inch space. So I worked 13 into my total measurement. It gives me 6 spaces, all right? So if I'm doing 6 spaces, that gives me 5 more shelves. So 5 shelves at that thickness is another 3 inches, give or take. The idea is I still have an extra 3 inches to go, 4 inches to go. So I'm gonna go 13.5 on the height, okay? And then we'll do that way. So let's do the math that way. We'll go 13.5 on the height plus 5/8. We're looking for the middle. So we're gonna put in 5 more shelves, 1, 3, 13.5. So I need 13.5 times 3 is 39, 40 and a half. Bam, there we go. Okay, so I'm measuring 40.5. There we go. Plus my 5/8. And that's gonna be my fixed shelf. It's gonna be the same height, okay? Every unit that I make. The rest of the shelves are adjustable, so you can have some fun with it. But having this fixed shelf the same height everywhere, it's very important, and it'll look a lot nicer if it's the same. So I use the square. I hold it against the panel, I push with my knee. I've already traced my line, so I know exactly where that panel is. And I shoot in square. So just a quick recap. The reason we have a fixed shelf, top, middle, and bottom, is because we have wallpaper on the backing. We're not throwing L brackets on, we're not attaching this to the wall with a bunch of fancy hardware. We're simply creating this box to hold its own structure, because the rest of it's adjustable shelves. We can't have the middle is bowing all over the place. And it's really difficult to put these things, lift them into place without wrecking them if you don't have the middle stability. All right, note, one of the reasons why we cut these panels a lot shorter than the ceiling, so you can lift them in place. Remember, 96 inches is 96 inches if you have something thin. But if you make something thick, you got to take some depth off there so you can roll this into position. And here I am, I'm still having problems. Unbelievable. It's not the end of the world, there's a quick, easy fix for this, but I need you to bring me up my skill saw. All right? What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take off a little bit of a triangle off the back corner, right across the bottom and the back so I have room to rock it in place. All right? Instead of messing with the top. So 2 things there. 1, I don't mind making mistakes and showing it on camera because you're going to run into things like this. And knowing how to fix it is probably the most important issue. Number 2, when we're doing our math on our shelves, I'm trying to get close without getting really too detailed. I don't want to get into nanometers. I'm trying to keep it simple. Remember, if the last shelf is a little bit longer, right? When you look up at it, it's automatically looking smaller anyway. So if it's got a little extra gap up there, visually it comes across as being perfect. So not to worry. Now all we got to do here, just take our square, and I'm feeling like an idiot. Okay, we're just going to take off the last little bit. It's of no value to us. This is just a great life lesson. So whenever you're doing carpentry and you've got something of substance and you're putting it up against the ceiling, this is a quick, easy fix. Be gentle with this, okay? Because it's not built to be the most durable thing in the world until it's installed. Let me just show the camera. So what I'm doing is I'm sliding my square around until my angle is lower than the shelf. Now I'm safe to cut. And one more time, Maddie. Okay, we're gonna see how easy this works this time. And it's probably better if I just manage it myself. Yeah. Okay. Oh, come on. All right. Sometimes it is the simple things that drive you nuts, right?
Now, if this doesn't work, we gotta go back to Home Depot. Right?
Actually, if this doesn't work, I have to cut down the top of it. But this is gonna work. I have faith. Oh, ho, ho. What the hell? Wait a minute. It's not about that. Oh, I cut the cabinets at 95. It's 95 1/4. I didn't give myself enough room. Obviously it's getting late in the day. I assumed that the ceiling was 96, but I forgot, Matt. we put in 3/4 inch hardwood. So now should have just used a measuring tape. All right, so I'm just gonna take a little bit extra off the top. Everything above that fixed shelf is actually just wasted space anyway. So 3rd time's the charm.
Talk about custom cabinet.
Custom built, baby.
You want to measure before we cut?
No. All right. That just makes more sense, doesn't it? Okay, now that we have one in place, really the secret here is not that tricky. We want to just measure to the existing height of the shelf, height of that shelf, and height of that shelf. Translate that information on the next board, nail those 3 shelves in, and then keep on attaching and attaching and attaching. Okay, so the only thing that we're missing here is getting this cabinet installed vertically and plumb. So what we're gonna do, Matt's gonna cut me a couple of pieces that are 18.5. The 1x2, we're gonna install it as a nailing surface underneath the shelf here and underneath the shelf at the top. We're gonna throw a laser level on, get this perfectly in line, and put our piece of 1x2 on the side here. Just a couple more details, and then you'll be able to make miles and miles of this cabinetry. Okay, 92.5. Here we go. Now it's the same process, right? So we're building our own component system based on this piece being attached to the wall and plumb and having our finished trim on. So we have to take a step forward before we can go backwards again. What I've done is I've cut my 1x6. I'm just laying it up against the shelf. You can see how it's going to finish up. Put a mark up here. That is where my 1x5 is going to finish. And now I want to get the actual measurement for my 1x2 because we're going to do over the face. Looks like, Maddie, this is going to be pretty much perfect. We're going to go 85.5 shy, okay? All right. Now that might sound unfamiliar, but when we're working and we're taking a measurement, if my measurement is just a little bit less than 85, I don't want to say 84 and 7/16. When you're on the saw, if I make a measurement, I say, give me something 84 or 85 shy. You line up 85 and you just, what you do, let me just give you a little example here. If I were talking 85, I'm going to extend my whole tape. Why not? So if I'm making a mark at 85, okay, usually I'll make a mark at the point and the thickness of the blade. So the saw guy knows to cut that pencil out. If I say 85 shy, when he's making his mark, he'll just go a little bit left of the mark. And he'll still take the pencil out. That's just a really effective way to communicate 1x2, and I don't remember the number anymore, so I'm gonna, it was at 85.5? Yeah. You write that down? Yep. 50 bucks. Oh, you got your money back. Wow. Oh, I'm a nice guy. Nice. All right. All right, so what we're gonna do over here is we're just gonna guesstimate. We're gonna set this up for the client, okay? And we're gonna put in enough of these little pegs. My goodness, that is not as easy as you'd think when you're holding a whole handful of the darn things. And we're gonna just toss these in at roughly whatever 1 foot is, okay? And then we'll go up to roughly wherever the 2 feet mark is, and so on and so forth. And we'll establish more shelves than you'll need. End of the day, no one's gonna need more shelves than every foot. I think in most situations that is more than sufficient, and you can buy these pegs in bulk. And so I bought a bag of 100. That's more than enough to do a few shelves here. Take care of this. And when I say more than enough, I think I'm gonna have 4 left over. Anyway, here we go. And when you go to cut your shelves, remember your spaces, you wanna take a healthy 1/8 of an inch off of that, just so that there's room to drop them all in place and they're not gonna be sitting there fighting with you. So what I did here is I just took my laser and I just checked the wall itself to make sure it was relatively level. Plumb, sorry, for everybody out there who doesn't like my slang. What I'm gonna do, because I don't need to follow the contour and scribe, I'm simply gonna install this trim board on the shelves. Well, like maybe a 1/16 or a 32nd of an inch overlap, just to get rid of this line. If I go perfectly flush, it's ugly. soon as I go bam, it's actually pretty. Okay, and I'm nailing, instead of square, both 2 degrees, so the nail's passing through the front on the way in, just to make sure that I'm not going to have an issue. When you're putting on your finished trims, it's the wrong time to have a nail fire out on you. All right, okay, now I'm going to slide the cabinet against the wall, and we're going to take our level and double check. And this is the best thing about a level. You don't have to be straight off the wall. You can just take it, direct it up against the back. And we are really close here. I don't think I can make that any more level if I wanted to. I actually really like where it's sitting. All right, so before we do anything else, we're gonna fire a couple of nails in, just so it doesn't move around on us. We're gonna grab our sub finder and we're gonna find out where the wood is. It could be just about anywhere. Interior walls can be really confusing because you don't know if they started from the left or the right due to their 16s on center. We found it. So that'll take care of that. And it should be about the same spot up here. And it is. Okay, now that's all in the stud. Now it's plumb, it's flush, it's pretty. We can just keep stacking these together now. So when it comes to symmetry, if I'm using nailing blocks, you have to put them everywhere. Even if you're not using it as a nailing block, you want to have that line of sight, that visual, very consistent. Okay, here we go. And that's how we attach that cabinet. So now we're going to attach the cabinet to the cabinet. We don't want to be too far front here, but we want to be somewhere inconspicuous. We're going to go just under the shelf. Make sure the fronts are both flush. There we go. Now that's sunk nice and flush. And we're going to grab our white plastic cap, number 2 size from that little bin in the screw drawer, and we're going to kick that on to cover it. Done. We're going to just do top, middle, bottom, and then we're done. Off to the next cabinet. We're expecting these shelves to be at 13 inches on this cabinet, right? So I'm going to throw my screw in just around 12. I'm anticipating that is going to be very invisible when it's all done. Okay. I'm going to put this one towards the back so no one will ever see it. Best thing about the screws, when you sink it flush, there's still, I don't know, 3/16 left. It doesn't ever poke out the other side. So you don't have to worry about that kind of damage. The head of the screw is usually its own stopper, so it's hard to drive it too deep unless you're really trying. Cabinet after cabinet after cabinet. But before we do, remember, our system is simple. Now I have this 2 panels together. I'm going to take another piece of 1x2. I'm going to laminate that middle. We're going to put the 1x5 across the top. And then we're ready to do all the crown work. The only thing that's left is to take out some 45-minute drywall compound, the quick set, make up a little bit of a paste, thumbnail all of the little pinholes, because that's the perfect way to finish that off. That'll dry without shrinking, and then you can give it one more quick paint after you've done all your caulking work. All right, well, the only thing left to do, I guess, is let's do the reveal of the final project and enjoy this. When we're done, we'll talk about the cost to build all of this system in the whole room. As you can see, this closet is a great example of what it takes. It's just a few simple tools and a little bit of understanding of how to put some things together. Anybody can build their own custom closet for less than $1,000. And you can have all the storage and all the space that you want. Wow, thanks for joining us today. If you'd like to see the other elements and how to build this one, we've got a playlist for you that shows you how to do the wallpaper, the engineered flooring, and even the whole reason why we renovated this brand new house. You can click the link right here. We'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to ask all your questions and give us a thumbs up.